IVIG mechanism is very complex, so I'll not bore you much with that. If we see IVIG immunotherapy, it was first discovered by E. Warren Bering in early 90s, and it has been the greatest benefactors of humanity till date. So we have seen like with the vaccines and with the use of IVIG, and we use a lot of like specific immunoglobulins for like active hepatitis B infection for dog bite. So this passive immunotherapy has been there. IVIG is a mechanism where we take pooled plasma. It is derived from pooled plasma from thousands of healthy donors, and they undergo several purification procedures so that they are less harmful and do not transmit infections, and we use it in many indications. So the routine doses, it is used, initially it was developed for supplementation in primary immunodeficiency diseases, especially the hypoglobinemic diseases. They require replacement for life. And then it was explored in autoimmune and inflammatory conditions. Routine, the doses for replacement therapy is very low. In autoimmune inflammatory conditions, the doses is generally 5 times more than what we use for replacement. So the main standard doses for autoimmune or inflammatory conditions is around 2 gram per kg, which is to be given over 2 to 5 days interval, and can be repeated on monthly basis if indicated, so that the trough serum levels comes to around 2.5 to 3 grams per deciliter. Now, what is the exact content of IVIG? Immunoglobulins, we know there are 5 kind of immunoglobulins, and IgM, IgD, IgG, IgE, and IgA. But the core content of IVIG is immunoglobulin, because this is the most major component of IVIG, and even in our circulation, the IVIG predominates. The second most common immunoglobulin in circulation is IgA. IgE is generally produced in response to some parasitic infection or allergies, and IgD is literally not present in the serum. IgM is present in certain in small numbers, and again it has specific functions. So most of the actions of IVIG is because of immunoglobulin and IgG, and its half-life is around 23 days. So that is the reason we repeat it at either 3 weekly interval or at monthly interval. So structure of IVIG, how does it actually help? This is a routine structure for all of the immunoglobulins. They have a heavy chain and they have a light chain. For the understanding its mechanism, it is divided into two fragments. This is the Fab fragment and this is the FC fragment. Lower one is FC fragment. So Fab fragment means this is the antigen binding fragment. Here, this area has specific CDC complement CDRs, complement determining receptors, which bind to different antigens to which our body has developed antibodies after several infections. So those are called anti-idiotype antibodies, and like once we have like developed many antibodies after vaccinations and those kinds. So they mop up the circulating antigens, uh, and they also can bind cytokines, chemokines, other receptors, adhesion molecules. The FC receptor is the crystallized form part of the IVIG. There, it generally binds to cell surface receptors. Cell surface receptors for immunoglobulin are called FC gamma receptors. Again, they have various varieties. Some are inflammatory, some are inhibitory, and they also have some sugar residues at the hinge region, which again has a lot of immunomodulatory function. So how do they act? The Fab fraction. They they just mops up the circulating antibodies, cytokines, chemokines. They neutralizes the complements and immune complexes, and they blocks may lead to blockade of leukocyte adhesion molecules, so allow less homing of inflammatory cells in a particular tissue. This one, the FC, over years it has been seen that probably FC portion, the heavy chain part is much more helping than the antibody binding, the antigen binding fragment. And these are the cell surface receptors to which this the immunoglobulin molecule binds. FC receptor, there are many subtypes of it. Some of this activate the cellular cytokine cascade, and some of them are inhibitory, which inhibit. This is a special kind of receptor which generally internalizes the immunoglobulin molecule and keeps it inside the cell and prevents its degradation. FC neonatal receptor, and this determines the half-life of immunoglobulin in a particular patient. So it can vary between 8 to 23 days depending on the number of FC neonatal receptor in the patient. Then there are these sugar molecules as a hinge region. They bind to the dendritic cells and thus modulate the amount of immune activation which can happen. So it acts in a different multiple immune mechanism, and the current data just tells us that IVIG targets each and every arm of immune system, thus culminating in inhibition of inflammatory cells and while reciprocally enhancing the immune regulators. So indications, it was first used in ITP, and after that there has been therapeutic explosion of its indications, and currently worldwide consumption is around more than 100 tons per year. FDA approved indications are primary immunodeficiencies, CLL, pediatric HIV infection, Kawasaki disease, bone marrow transplant, CIDP, kidney transplant, and multifocal motor neuropathy. It is also used in other indications like neuromuscular, hematological, and many dermatological conditions. Overall, it has a very good safety profile. Mild to moderate adverse reactions can occur in 30% of patients, which is generally managed by holding it for temporary, slowing the rate of infusion and giving some NSAIDs and antihistaminics. And for those who develop recurrent reactions, they can be switched to subcutaneous infections. We have seen deaths with this drug also going on. So we need to be cautious here. Anaphylaxis can occur in immunoglobulin A deficient patients. So, ideally, before transfusing high doses of IVIG, we should check for IgA levels. And those who are deficient in immunoglobulin A, they should be given a special proportion of IVIG, which is IgA deficient IVIG. There's a long list of complications, and over the last 2-3 years in SIMS, we have seen some of those complications. So the common ones are flu-like syndrome, which can be just managed like we manage any other infusion reaction. It can lead to acute intravascular hemolysis, which can occur within 1 to 3 days of infusion. This happened in one patient 2 years ago, where hemoglobin levels fall to 2 grams after IVIG infusion. This generally happens because of presence of anti-A, anti-B, or Rh antibodies in a given patient, and the IVIG preparation is also not very much purified for these blood group antigens. So their reaction could lead to acute intravascular hemolysis. Generally, it is moderate and sometimes it may require blood transfusion. Acute aseptic meningitis, which lasts for 24 to 72 hours, can improve with symptomatic treatment. Arterial or venous thromboembolic events or arterial or venous thrombosis. This can happen. The main reason for this, generally the risk is less than 0.1%, but still mainly it happens because of biological properties of IVIG, contamination with clotting factors, vasospasm secondary to release of vasoactive molecules after IVIG infusion, and formation of platelet aggregates. Others can be hypertension and fluid overload. Acute renal failure can sometimes be because of osmotic injury of unpurified IVIG, which leads to acute tubular injury. Non-IgE mediated anaphylaxis can sometimes occur because of presence of, in patients with IgA deficient immunoglobulin. So conclusions, in an era of newer biologic drugs, we are still using this IVIG in many serious conditions. It was first introduced in 1950s and it is going to stay. Immunoglobulin replacement therapy has been life-saving in our primary immunodeficiency diseases and lot of autoimmune inflammatory conditions, and it really helped us in the post-COVID inflammatory syndrome patients who presented with multi-organ dysfunction syndrome. Because of safety issues and the amount of purification and biohandling it undergoes, cost is not going to come down in the near future. So, regarding the mechanism of action, every year we come to know about one new mechanism of action, and each mechanism of action has a has a paper in something like Frontiers of Immunology, 20 pages. So I think latest addition was it induces regulatory cells production, and it just changes the menu from anti-inflammatory from inflammatory milieu to the anti-inflammatory milieu, and that helps. It has a lot of mechanisms that will take a whole day to discuss the exact mechanism. Thank you.